The Fed Upward Podcast, a place for federal employees and friends of feds to find strategies and tactics to navigate everyday problems.
And now, a quick word from our sponsor.
3, 2, 1.
From launch pads
We have liftoff.
to research labs, civilian Fed life leads to many places, all covered by WAEPA. WAEPA offers fully portable group term life insurance for current and former civilian Feds. This coverage answers whatever life brings, with benefits that follow wherever service calls. WAEPA. For Feds, by Feds.
Hi, folks. This is Love Rutledge, host of the Fed Upward Podcast, coming to you from Globalee's Shaping America's Next 25 Summit. I'm here with guest Josh Marcuse, who is one of the co-founders of this organization, who is going to give us the details of what it is, what it does, and why you want to be a member. Josh, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So first, give me a little bit of information about your background for my listeners so they understand how they can relate to you and your experience in the federal government.
Sure. So I was so proud of my time spent as a federal employee. I worked at the Department of Defense for over a decade. It was an incredible career chapter for me. Some of the work I'm most proud of, some of the people that I loved the most, an incredible experience. And I still feel very connected to the federal government because I currently work as a Google public sector where most of our customers are in the federal government. And so I still get to support the mission of many of our federal agencies, especially the DoD mission where I came from. So people ask me about what it's like to go from working at DoD to working at Google. I say, when I was in the Department of Defense, my mission was to build a bridge from the national security community in Washington to the tech community in Silicon Valley. And I feel like I'm building the same bridge. I'm just building it from the other direction. So it feels like it's still very mission aligned. But when I started my career, just when I was 22 years old, I had the same passion for the mission that I do now, but I really didn't understand how to channel that. Didn't really know how to take the first step. And I was surrounded by other young people who had come to DC because they also wanted to be part of a cause greater than themselves. They also wanted to serve and be part of the history. It was unfolding at that time in the wake of 9/11, but they also didn't know how to do it. And so that desire for community and significance and purpose and growth created Young Professionals in Foreign Policy. And that organization went on for almost 20 years, succeeding in some ways and candidly struggling in some other ways. And that's how I met the co-founder of Globally, Aubrey Ottenstein. And at that time, she was helping to run Young Professionals in Foreign Policy. And so we created Globally together to take some of the magic of this authentic, organic community of emerging leaders around the world who cared so much about foreign policy, wanted to be part of a community of young people that wanted to be part of solving the world's biggest problems. And we took kind of that secret sauce, and then we asked ourselves, how do we apply that to creating other similar communities that are just as authentic, but cover a broader set of challenges and issues? And that is really the history of Globally and the reason for founding Globally. The Globally mission is a community for every cause. And so we think of ourselves as a platform for scaling communities of impact. We design and build communities of impact, communities of young people who are striving for purpose and growth and leadership development, advancing a public spirited career. And we help launch their careers and we help build those communities. And that is the purpose for Globally, and that's how Globally came to be. And so you're probably wondering, what is this summit? And so we have all these different communities, but they're kind of separated. They're on different topics. We have a community for people interested in technology and innovation in the federal government called the Federal Innovator Network. And we have the community I talked about for foreign policy called YPFP. We have a community for emerging as a global leader called EAGLE, the Emerging as a Global Leader Experience. And the EAGLE program is really for national security civilians and veterans and active duty military officers, and it's really a strong defense flavor. And we have Public Policy New Voices, which is about inclusive leadership. And we have In-Network, which is for inclusive leadership specifically in the Intel community. And it's an incredible network of Intel leaders. And so we have never brought all these communities together. And that was always my dream. The same moment we came up with the dream globally, I also just said, wait, maybe one day all of those people will come together to cross-pollinate all of their ideas, all their different perspectives about how they see the world, all the different ways in which they perceive what's going on, and all the different skills they each bring them all together to really become solvers together. That dream was deferred because of COVID. And so now, finally, June 2025, we have the chance to bring all the globally communities together in person for the first time. And that is the purpose of the summit. So for me, this is really a day that has been 20 years in the making.
Fantastic. Can you talk about some of the themes of today's events and speakers and why those are important for the organization and the attendees?
Absolutely. Thanks. So what a great question. So as we thought about what were the missions and the topics that would appeal broadly to all those different communities that are part of the Globally family, we ended up with 4 big themes. And these themes are really connected to the strategic pillars of the organization. So one theme is securing the future. That's really, frankly, for people with my background, that's really a defense and national security theme, recognizing, as many have said, we're in an era of great power competition. We're in an era of AI. We're in a time when there are wars on almost all continents, tragically, a lot of conflict. And so this is the session for those emerging leaders in defense and in national security talking about how America is going to face down those kinds of challenges over the next 25 years. There is a big theme around powering public service, because this is a talent pipeline organization. This is a leadership development organization. So much of what we do is all about helping young people find their next career step, but also we help employers find incredible talent. We call that talent engine. So there's a big theme around workforce of the future. I've had a background in personnel reform. Love, I know you have an incredible background in your career on personnel reform.
Very passionate about it.
And so we could do a whole episode, or probably a year worth of episodes on personnel reform. So powering public service is about that, attracting the next generation of public servants, preparing them to lead. Then we also have a track on public-private collaboration, and that's because we think of ourselves as a public-private partnership in some ways. We talk about this concept from Harvard Business School of tri-sector leadership. We've been talking about this since way before it was popular. The concept of tri-sector leadership is all of the really hard problems within a single sector have largely been solved now. People in industry have gotten very good at building things and selling things, and they know how to do that. Government's very good at the things that it has been working on for decades and so forth, where we find that the complex global challenges, the wicked problems, if you will, are things that are at the seams of those institutional boundaries that require partnership with government and industry and civil society. And if I look at the problems that are the biggest things for our generation to tackle, they all fall into this category. You can't solve cybersecurity. You can't solve climate change or energy independence. You can't solve certainly national security or pandemics. None of these things can be solved by one sector alone. So we're passionate about tri-sector leadership and creating public-private partnerships. So that's a big theme. And then last, sort of the closing, if you will, I kind of think of it as the climax of the day in many ways, is talking about the leaders we need for the next 25 years. And so if there's one thing that unifies all of the communities in the globally world, or unifies all of the members, or the 36 mentors that came here today, we are all deep thinkers about leaders and leadership and what makes a good leader, and how do we be reflective about our own experiences, the things that we've learned from the leaders that inspired us, the things we've learned from the leaders who came up short, how we can become better leaders, what leadership means. Also talk about the vulnerability of being a leader and the sacrifices they make and the inner life of leaders. And we spend a lot of time thinking about that and talking about that empathy, vulnerability, and psychological safety. So the last track is the leaders we need. And that, I think, is the right closing, because that's what we need to do together for the next 25 years. We need to become the leaders we need, and then we need to train the leaders that will come behind us. So I am not a young professional anymore, Love, I'm sure you know. But people paid it forward to me the way their mentors did for them. And when Condoleezza Rice spoke this morning, she talked about the people who mentored her, the people who brought her into her career path, which obviously was a pretty glorious career. And we're doing the same thing. So I remember specifically the people that did incredible things for me when I was 22 to help me find my way. And some of those people are here today. Actually, I invited them to be the mentors to the next generation. And it's really a special thing to see the bond that we share with those people who helped me, watching me help others, and me watching them still 20 years later, still offering a helping hand. It's quite emotional, actually, and in the best way.
That's an amazing recap of all the great things that are going on today. If folks want to get involved in the organization, which hopefully they will after hearing such a passionate description of why you founded the organization and what you do, how can they get involved and where can they find Globally?
Well, we obviously globally.org is a really easy website to find, just www.globally.org. And then also some of our communities have their own websites, ypfp.org. We're on all the social media platforms you'd expect. We're conspicuous, we're easy to find. And the best way to get involved is to just join one of these communities. I think a lot of your listeners are going to be super excited about the Federal Innovator Network, and they can go to Globally, or they can go to federalinnovation.org and join that way. And then they get the newsletter and the blog, and be invited to the in-person salon dinners, and they get to the hybrid virtual things. And there's a lot of ways to get involved. But I would say the most important thing is I want to speak to the person who's listening to this podcast right now, who doesn't want to necessarily just be a joiner. They actually are a founder. They're an entrepreneur or an intrapreneur or a policy entrepreneur, or they're someone that has a vision for the community that they want to build around the cause they're passionate about. And we are aiming at helping them achieve that goal. So if Globally is successful, we will have existing communities that have already been built, communities of impact, join our family and say, I don't want to be alone. I actually want to be my community with my mission, my organization, my nonprofit, but I want to join the Globally network. Or they might say, hey, I want to lead and start this thing, and I'm willing to put the time in, and I'm willing to raise money, and I'm willing to put myself out there, and I'm going to do the outreach and all those things. And then we can say, we'll give you the tools, the know-how. You won't need to file for 501c3. You won't need to get liability insurance. You won't need to figure out how to build a board on your own. We'll do all those things for you, and we'll do it together. And that is how the next communities will be built. And that is what excites me the most. I'm the most passionate, not about expanding the things that exist, but the chance to help people create new things. So if you want to get involved in Globally, by all means join. But if you've been wondering about whether you want to start your own community around a cause you believe in, then we're the right organization for you.
Fantastic description. And I hope folks are fired up when they hear this and understand that there is a platform that can help them get their ideas off the ground. For federal employees who are looking for a space to get involved, to support the mission area that you are passionate about, this is your opportunity to do that, to get started. For those of you who are looking for a place to network with folks inside the government, at other levels of government, state and local, as well as private industry, this is your opportunity to get involved and network with individuals in those sectors as well. And I hope everyone hears this and is energized to become a part of the Globally community. Josh, I really appreciate being invited to this event so that I can help support the cause and help federal employees expand their horizons in ways that are more entrepreneurial and expansive than maybe they have considered in the past. Any final words for my listeners?
Absolutely. I do. I have a final message for your listeners. I just want to thank you for creating this program. You are a voice that is both warm and strong. You are credible. You are a source of truth and insight for people that want to better understand the life of federal workers and federal employment and what's going on in the scene. And you've made an incredible community, and you have such an important voice. I am so proud that we're going to be working together to bring that voice to more listeners and to bring more voices onto your show. I think that's an incredible next chapter for Globally, and hopefully a bright next chapter for FedUpward. And we're going to do awesome things together.
Fantastic. I look forward to that. I realize I've said fantastic about 8 times during this podcast, but this event really is great. And I appreciate, again, being a part of it and connecting with so many amazing leaders. And folks, you can expect to hear from those leaders in the coming weeks as I roll out more episodes that I recorded during the Shaping America's Next 25 Summit so that I can bring the wisdom of all of the great leaders who participated in the summit to you. So thanks for listening. And until next time, don't get fed up, get fed upward.
ClearanceJobs, the leading digital network for cleared professionals, has launched fedwork.net, connecting federal employees with news, insights, and community. The public forum serves as an extension of the ClearanceJobs career community, empowering feds to stay connected and informed. Visit fedwork.net to search and start discussions, and create a free profile at clearancejobs.com to find your next cleared role.
Thanks for listening, friends. If you liked what you heard today, I hope you'll subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend. To join my mailing list, head over to fedupwardcoaching.com/podcast. Talk soon.